This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roosport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roosport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroosport.com and use the code SIDELINE30, all lowercase, for 30% off their entire product line. Again, that's theroosport.com, promo code SIDELINE30. And now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
And welcome into Sideline Warning, everybody. As always, you've got the one, the only, the golden voice of the Southeast, Dave Adams, coming to you live and in living color from Harvest, Alabama, all the way from the top of the state of Alabama, because as always, I am on top of things, and I have brought all of my friends along this week. First off, all the way from Birmingham, Alabama, Hollywood, Ben Foster. Ben, are you licking your wounds? Was it a rough weekend for you?
Hold on, Dave. I'm ordering my NIT tickets to watch the games in Tuscaloosa.
So what you're saying is Alabama's going dancing.
Hey, years and years ago, the NIT was the tournament to be in. So I think Bama should be very excited about where they are.
Okay, but we'll get into that, and I'm sure Adam will have some things to say about that. But first, let's bring him in. All the way from Hunters Creek, Eustis, the House of Mouse, Dr. Phillips, Deltona, Dell Land, Conway, Claremont, Castleberry, St. Cloud, the phenomenal brother, Adam Russell. Adam, everybody healthy in your house now?
Oh, thank goodness, finally, yes.
Ready
for spring break.
No masks, no nothing.
Not anymore. Not anymore. There were, though, yes.
Okay.
But not anymore. Everybody's on the mend, so thank you for asking.
Good. I think that the Sideline Warning family was praying for you this week because they missed you on the show last week.
Yes, my Sideline Warning this week will be everybody get a flu shot.
Well, were you able to watch basketball, Adam? Because I know Ben and I did. Were you
off
sick
and
enough?
on? Yeah, at the beginning of the week, no. Towards the middle to end of the week when the tournament got ramped up, yeah.
Okay. So you're going to be able to have the conversations with us and talk about the basketball stuff because
yes,
you love basketball, right?
I do. Remember what my dad said.
I remember. All right, gentlemen. So we've got to talk Bama first because that's our bread and butter. So Thursday things looked bleak. Alabama was down by what was it, Ben? 14 at halftime.
It was a significant margin down to Ole Miss, and it certainly seemed like most fans were going to throw in the towel, and seemed like the team could too.
Yeah, I'd already thought about I'm just going to switch it off. I don't want to get mad. This is just basketball, whatever. But something kept me watching it, and it probably was Tevin Mack scoring at will, basically, because Tevin Mack 4 from 6 for 3 points. 8 for 13 from field goals, 21 points off the bench. That's amazing. Where was this Tevin Mack all year?
He wasn't getting enough minutes.
Okay.
I've advocated for Tevin Mack most of the season, and he's not going to be able to give you 20 points every night, but that's certainly something he was pretty close to averaging when he was starting out at Texas as a freshman. So he's had a couple years to work on his game. I think the problem with Tevin Mack this season was he was getting pulled too quickly. To me, it seems like Tevin Mack does his best shooting after he's been on the court for a few minutes and gotten really warm. And I think there were a lot of times where Tevin Mack sat and got cold and didn't have the chance to get warmed up again.
So whose fault would it be for pulling him out of the game that early?
Well, that seems like a coaching decision, Dave.
It does. And do you know where I'm getting at that, Ben?
I think I do. I think I've got a guess.
So we can say a lot of the issues this season have been coaching, right?
Well, I think certainly some of them are coaching. The team, even Tevin Mack was interviewed after the game, and they said, "Well, what was the issue in the first half? Why didn't you guys play like that, like you did in the second half, in the first half?" And he goes, "Well, I just think we had problems with our energy," and that's been something we've touched on here on the show before. Why don't you have energy for 40 minutes? Why do you only have energy for 20 minutes? And that's a coaching thing, but it's also a player thing. And it's a team sport, and so the team has to find energy somewhere. And some of that's on the coaches, but some of it's also on the players.
Yeah, some of it's on the players. I agree with that, but I put a big, hefty chunk of that on the coaches, because every sports movie we've seen, everything we've seen about inside a locker room, what do you see before a team runs out onto the court?
Well, sure, you get a speech, you get a pep talk, and that matters.
Right.
But also in any sports movie or whatever you want to see, or any feature that you see on a sports network, they also talk about players that are leaders. And I think this is a team that's got some talented guys, but it didn't necessarily have some guys that were able to be consistent vocal leaders. So I think to place, there's a lot of Bama fans that want to place blame in one spot, and I think it's better to spread the blame around, because this team not reaching its full potential, this team not getting to 20 wins, this team not making the NCAA tournament. It's a failure of the coaches and the players. It's a team failure.
So are we going to say that this team is a failure?
No, I think this team failed. I think this team failed to reach its full potential.
Yeah, relative to potential, yeah, I'd say failure, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it did, and we've talked about this. It did beat the Ken Pom projection, where it was expected to be like a 15-14 team or something like that. It definitely had more wins than it was projected in the Ken Pom projections.
Yes, but if you look at it, this team has the talent to truly be a contender. Could have been that second day bye in the SEC tournament. I mean, when you're led by Dante Hall, Riley Norris, Dazon Ingram, supposedly AJ Jr. was supposed to be a leader, even Kira Lewis Jr., who at the end of the season became a leader on this team, you're supposed to be led by these talented players. It didn't seem like these talented players were leading this team where it should go.
Yeah, and that's why I think the blame is on the coaches and the players fairly equally. People have got to communicate, and people have got to step up and push people around, and sometimes when a player's not doing that, the coaches need to fill the void, and sometimes when a coach isn't doing it, the players need to fill that void. And you need floor leaders, but you need bench leaders as well, and you need somebody to control the practices and make sure that the practices are driving a team in a way where they can be successful on the court for 40 minutes.
Yeah, if a player's truly going to say, if we're truly going to say we have a lot of talent on the floor, you'd expect that talent to naturally have a component of leadership with it, especially with some of the age that we've got on the court, right? And I think if you've got a problem with energy coming out the first round of the SEC tournament where you're literally playing for your life to try to make it into the NCAA tournament, whether Avery's a complete loss right now or not, there should be at least one guy stepping up and trying to have that rising tide lift all the boats. And if everybody's just sitting around saying, yeah, we got low energy, we'll do better in the second half, regardless of anything Avery's doing, then yeah, I agree. It's on the players at that point too. Because if they're truly talented, that talent needs to show. And that age and that leadership need to show too. And it just didn't show for the Kentucky game or the first half of the Ole Miss game.
Yeah, I agree with that. You would think somebody like Dante Hall, now he looks like a quiet leader, but you would think somebody like Dante Hall, who truly has taken this team on his back most of this season, you would think somebody like that would step up and say, hey, let's do what we have to do. All we have to do is win this Ole Miss game and play Kentucky close, and we would get in the conversation. I don't think anybody truly thought Alabama stood a chance to beat Kentucky, but going into that game, if Alabama stayed within 5 points of Kentucky and turned some heads, I really do think that the tournament committee would say, all right, the strength of schedule is good. Look at all these teams that they supposedly lost to or that were bad losses. Well, they're now in the tournament because they've won their conference. I think that if Alabama played within 5 to 10 points of Kentucky, we might be talking about Alabama playing in one of these play-in games on Tuesday instead of the losers bracket and the NIT.
But by most marks, Alabama is one of the last four out, and in some cases, at least two spots out. The conversation seems to be that Oregon winning the Pac-12 when they would not have made the NCAA tournament, Oregon essentially stole somebody's spot, and that spot seems to have belonged to UNC Greensboro. So Alabama was at least two spots away from being one of the teams in the field of 68. And I've told you my personal opinion. I don't think the goal should be ever to be in the field of 68. I think it should be to be in the field of 64. And Alabama just wasn't going to be close enough. And I get your point, Dave, but I think Alabama had to beat Kentucky. And there were actually moments in the game where I thought, if Kentucky wants to continue to be cold, because they did have some spots where they weren't really being that fearsome, and if Alabama wanted to play their best basketball at the time that Kentucky wasn't playing their best basketball, I thought there was an opportunity there. I saw a small window of opportunity for Alabama to get the lead in that game, come back from the deficit, and beat Kentucky in kind of a similar fashion to how they beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, but Ole Miss went to sleep in the second half. You knew Kentucky would not go to sleep in the second half. I mean, Kentucky scored 39 and 34 points in each half. You knew Alabama would have to keep Kentucky down to a 20-something score in the second half to even dream of coming back. I think when Alabama was down 10 points at halftime, I almost knew in my head it was over at that point.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that way. I'm not disagreeing with you there, but there were actually moments in the second half where Alabama cut that deficit, and you thought, well, if you can keep it under 10, there's an opportunity to make a run, and that opportunity never really arose. But there were times where Bama cut it, and you said, here it is. Kentucky just needs to go cold for a couple of possessions, and Alabama needs to score, and it just didn't happen. And that's the story of the season. There's been so many games this season where Alabama was in the running, they had the opportunity to win a game or to take control of a game, and they didn't capitalize.
Yeah, I agree. But I hate to be that guy, if only this had happened, we could have been a better team, because there's so many ifs and buts and whatevers that you can count on in sports. I think that this team truly underachieved, and it's not just this thing went wrong or that thing went wrong. I think that this is truly on coaching and the players being lackluster, which leads me to my next question, gentlemen. As we know, Alabama's the number one seed in the NIT. We're going to pick that here in just a second, which we don't know half of these teams. So we're going to try to pick the NIT bracket.
You know these guys. You know these teams.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So if you're in the shoes of Alabama, which we talked about this last week, Ben, and I think I want you to say this with Adam on the show now. What are your views of Avery Johnson now?
I mean, they haven't changed from last week.
I know, but I want Adam to see your face.
Look, I said it last week. I'll say it again. If you can't come up with a winning record in your conference after 4 seasons, that's as strong of a case as there could be that you probably shouldn't continue on in the job. And so now, Alabama fans. Bama basketball fans are in a holding pattern where they wait to see what the future holds for Avery Johnson and what kind of decisions Greg Byrne's going to make. And based on most of the indications from coming out of the SEC tournament, Greg Byrne was going to wait to interact with Avery Johnson until they knew for sure Alabama wasn't going to the NCAA tournament. And all indications were they weren't, but there was still that sliver of hope as late as this afternoon that somehow Alabama was going to just ease into the tournament somehow. And that didn't materialize, and Alabama's a 1 seed in the NIT. You want to make it to the tournament more than once in 4 years. And you want to have a winning record in your conference. And if Alabama had a winning record in their conference over Avery Johnson's tenure, we wouldn't be having these conversations. We wouldn't be about to pick the NIT bracket.
And I'll tell you, Mr. Greg Byrne, I know you listen. Don't at me, but I know you listen. If just making it into the NCAA tournament, barely squeaking by on the heels of beating Kentucky early in the SEC season, if just making it meant that Avery kept his job and the conversation between Greg Byrne and Avery Johnson was any different, while on the same day that Auburn or the same weekend Auburn wins the SEC championship, when right across the state there's an athletic program that has a coach that can take his team that's not the best team that Alabama actually had glimmers of hope of beating a little bit and can push them all the way past all the teams in the SEC tournament. Greg Byrne needs a wake-up call significantly. If just making it in was enough for Avery to keep his job, because Auburn is raising the standard. And when Auburn is raising the standard and we don't match it, the AD's job is at risk then, in my opinion.
That's
absurd.
Maybe
that's
outside
absurd.
of baseball.
Okay,
maybe outside of baseball or something like that. But if we're going to sit here, we've been sitting here talking.
You're going to suggest that Greg Byrne his job could be in trouble if he doesn't fire Avery Johnson right now?
What I'm saying is that if Greg Byrne continues to allow Auburn in a major sport like basketball to set a standard better than what he's allowing to have happen in Tuscaloosa, and we let Avery Johnson slide for another year and we have another repeat of this while Auburn wins another SEC championship and makes it to another NCAA tournament, then I would say yes. He either needs to put up and make basketball a priority or shut up and go find somewhere else to be an AD if he's going to allow Auburn to surpass us like that. Because the whole conference has passed us by. Half the conference passed us by this year. And we're just sitting here saying, well, as long as we make the tournament, Avery can stay. If that's really the perspective, then we need to really look at overall where our athletic department is headed. And I'm not talking right now it's a short-term thing. I'm talking about medium to long-term. Greg Byrne really needs to figure out if basketball is a real sport for us or not, because at Auburn, they're taking it seriously.
Well, I think Greg Byrne is hamstrung right now, and he may go ahead and find a way to pay Avery Johnson's buyout, but he didn't sign up this contract for Avery Johnson, and nobody wants to deal with a $9 million or $8 million buyout for a coach they didn't hire. That's Greg Byrne being in between a rock and a hard place.
Don't be a major executive at a company. Don't be an athletic director at a major athletic program. Sure. If you don't want to deal with this stuff, go do something else.
I'm not saying he doesn't want to deal with it. I'm just saying that's a lot of money to pay, and he may wind up paying it.
Hey, I get it. Greg's got to pay that $8 million towards more box seats in Bryant-Denny Stadium to shut out the little guy. I totally get where his head is right now. I totally get what that $8 million could do. It could put that Jumbotron up. I totally understand. But we're either going to put more expensive seats in the football stadium or we're going to take basketball seriously.
So Greg Byrne's job is in danger.
So if we as the University of Alabama are content with letting Auburn set the standard, then yeah, I think it should be. Over the long term, it should be yes.
So here's where I'm going to kind of veer away from you and I are normally simpatico with this, Adam. Here's where I'm going to veer away from this. Doing that means that Auburn's in our head. I think that we have to realize that Auburn truly isn't our rival in basketball.
No, Auburn's not in our head.
That's right. Creighton's our basketball.
Putting up a huge Jumbotron in your stadium and using that as a selling and recruiting point for everybody is jealousy over stadium. We're in Auburn's head. I'm talking about the guys who won a championship, Dave. This isn't, oh, my department's better than yours, or, oh, my thing that I did in my weight room is better than yours. This is they actually won the SEC championship, and we're playing in the NIT. And it's time for that to be done.
Right.
If we're really serious that Alabama needs to be not just a fog school, let's stop acting like it.
Okay,
if you want me to buckle up when Bruce Pearl's winning championships and we're in the NIT, it's not going to happen.
So let me ask you,
you're not going to buckle up if we fire Avery Johnson. That motto will be out the door.
Right.
If we have somebody who can bring a vision to actually make it, yes. But the current guy's not going to get us there. We're all saying the same thing.
So let me ask you this, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show 4 or 5 weeks ago. If we fired Avery right now, which I am wanting to do, and I put the poll up on Twitter the other day that 60% of the voters said, hey, let's fire Avery now. If we fired him right now, are the facilities that we've got right now, which are subpar, we've talked about that, are the facilities good enough to get us a Steve Prom, a Hoiberg, an Altman, somebody that has been to the top? Would they want to come to I hate to say slumming it because you don't slum it at Alabama. We've got good facilities, but it's not great. Would we want to come to somewhere that has subpar facilities when you can go to LSU, who has the talent right now, who also has the facilities? You can go to Texas A&M, who has the facilities. Right now, saying Alabama fired Avery right now, we talked about this last week, Ben. Alabama's probably the third best job that's open in the SEC.
The job's not open yet.
That's what I said. If we fired Avery tonight, Alabama would be the third best job in the SEC behind Texas A&M and LSU. So that means we'd be third in line. We'd have to find the right guy. I don't think Steve Prohm is the right guy because I truly think that he'll stay at Iowa State. He just won the Big 12 championship, crying out loud. He beat Kansas. Why would you jump off that high horse to come back to a hellhole that is Alabama basketball right now?
If you have an athletic director that has a vision for how you're going to improve those facilities, and maybe Greg Byrne does. I've seen some walkthrough video of how we're going to renovate Coleman Coliseum. And they're going to knock a hole in the wall right there when you walk in, and they're going to project some logos up on the ceiling. That's all I saw. They're going to reconfigure the seats, and you're going to have stuff projected on the ceiling. If you sit down with Steve Prohm and you say, Steve, your alma mater needs you right now, and I know you're there with Iowa State. What would it take to get you here? Here's my vision for where I want to take the program in the next 5 years, and I want you to be a part of it. I mean, we could totally do that. We're recruiting players with crap facilities. Why can't we recruit a coach? All you've got to have is a compelling vision to sell it to the right person. If we're going to sit here and wait until we have good facilities, how long is it going to be?
Well, it'll be 4 years because the facilities will be built in 4 years.
Okay. We can restart the podcast in 4 years, and then I'll buckle up. How about that? If you have the right leadership in the decision-making seat, which I believe we do with Greg Byrne, I'm not saying that he needs to go.
You just wanted Greg Byrne fired. You just said Greg Byrne should step down. You said he should go elsewhere.
I did not say those words exactly like that. Don't get me started about context.
Context is king.
If he wants to go out and get a new coach and sell a vision and make that vision happen, then he's worth every penny. But if he's going to sit here and let Avery sit for these reasons or whatever, just because it's the convenient thing to do and it's not a buyout and he doesn't want to deal with a buyout, then he's not the right guy for the job. Got to make the tough decisions and you got to do what it takes. We did it with Saban. We got him back. And we got him hired. We need to have that.
There it is. We just got to get that Saban. If we just had a Saban coach in the basketball team.
Okay, keep Avery then. Keep him, man. I'm cool with the NIT because I'm not going to watch it. I really don't. We'll pick
then
it,
you're not cool
and
with it.
I'll keep a glance at it. Whatever. It's fine. But if we don't want to go after a coach who's going to take us to the next level, let's sit with where we are then. Let's just stay where we're at.
So before this fight happened, discussion happened, I was going down the road of, in the situation Alabama's in, and you're kind of questioning your coach like we are.
And questioning. No, man.
Okay.
We all agree he needs to go tonight, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
I think. Yes. Okay.
All in favor.
But we're the three here. We're not Greg Byrne.
I'll let him coach. Let him coach Wednesday night.
But yes,
he's got his son's on the team. You're not. It's not going to make a difference in hiring a coach like tonight versus 3 nights from now. So let him coach these NIT games because his son's on the team. Let him coach his son until Alabama's done. Then fire him.
But here's my question.
A minute a game.
Yeah. Here's my question. If you're in the position Alabama's in, do you accept the invitation to the NIT? I mean, it's the same bowl game question. You know, are you 6-6? Do you go and expect to lose? And I know your answer, Ben, is you always accept the play because you get more practice, blah, 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 blah. But if you are unsure about keeping your coach, say Avery lucks up and wins the NIT, which we have a very easy road to the NIT looking at this bracket. Say Avery lucks up and wins the NIT. What does that look like? Say your coach just won a major championship and you're going to fire him.
It's not a major championship.
But you won a championship.
It is perfectly acceptable to fire your coach after winning the NIT because it is the NIT.
Okay. So if you're Alabama, let's say that you're Greg Byrne, Ben, or you're Greg Byrne, Adam. Would you accept the bid to the NIT?
I would, yes.
Ben says yes.
It's not the CBI. It's the NIT.
Because to not accept it makes it look like you're taking your toys and going home because you didn't make the big dance. You have to play the game. You have to go into that tournament and accept it. Yes.
So you're saying you've got to do the Triple H. Time to play the game. Okay.
Yeah.
There's my
whatever
wrestling.
that means. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
There's my wrestling reference for the day. All right, so we've skirted around this enough. I think we've argued enough. I see red faces on Adam and Ben both. Let's go ahead and.
Oh, that's just the reflection, and I didn't skirt. I dove right into it. Just
yeah, I know you did. Well, I was skirting around picking the bracket. So
that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and pick this bracket. Ben, you've got it pulled up, I assume.
I certainly do.
All right, let's.
We'll start picking what they call the upper left of the bracket, and tell you what, we will work counterclockwise and come around to Alabama. So we'll pick the upper left quadrant of the bracket all the way to the semifinals, and then we'll come back around.
Quadrant 1 or a quadrant 2 win?
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll come back around. We'll come back around and pick the 4 semifinalists. So that's how we'll do it. So first up, we've got the 1 versus 8 matchup of UNC Greensboro taking on Campbell.
Aren't they the Camels?
Yes, they are. UNC Greensboro missed the NCAA tournament by an Oregon.
So they're number 69.
But that's one way to look at it.
So, all right, so I'll pick UNC Greensboro.
Sure. Same.
Adam, the athletic director, is really enthused. I will take UNC Greensboro as well. Number 4, Davidson, Steph Curry's alma mater, taking on number 5, Lipscomb.
Just because Lipscomb is very close to me, I'm going to take Lipscomb. I've actually played on their gym floor.
Just because Dave chose them, I'm going to choose the other and go with Davidson.
Adam, I'm going to agree with you and go with Davidson as well. All right, here's number 3, Georgetown, taking on number 6, Harvard.
I really want to pick Harvard so I can say Harvard, but I'm going to pick Georgetown.
You picked Georgetown, you still got to say it, Dave. Congrats.
There you go.
I'll go with Georgetown, too.
I'm going to go with Georgetown. Got to go with Patrick Ewing. Got to give him some love. All right. Next up, NC State taking on Hofstra. That's the 2-7 matchup.
So NC State could theoretically get into some hot trouble because their former coach was part of the FBI investigation. But I'm still going to pick them. Former coach being Mark Gottfried.
Yeah, I'm going with NC State, too. Did you pick NC State?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, NC State.
You know what? I'm going to pick an upset here. I'm going to go with Hofstra. I think Hofstra is a really competitive team, and I think they're just they've been kind of cheated in the seeding here. So I will take Hofstra in the 7-2 upset.
Okay.
All right, second round here in the top quadrant. You've got UNC Greensboro versus Davidson or Lipscomb.
I've got UNC Greensboro versus Lipscomb, and I will take Greensboro.
Yeah, I've got UNC Greensboro over Davidson.
I'll go with UNC Greensboro as well to make it unanimous.
Unanimous.
All right, Georgetown is who I've got. It could be Georgetown or Harvard versus NC State or Hofstra. Go ahead and tell me your second round picks.
Yeah, I've got Georgetown versus NC State, and I think I'm going with the mild upset taking Georgetown here.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. I've got the same pick, so Georgetown.
I've got Georgetown versus Hofstra. I am actually going to go with Hofstra one more time and put them into the quarterfinals. Okay, so for the quarterfinals, tell me your matchup and tell me who you have advancing to the semifinals.
Got UNC Greensboro and Georgetown, and I'm going with the upset, going Georgetown.
I've got the same matchup, but I'm going UNC Greensboro. Greensboro.
I have UNC Greensboro versus Hofstra, and I'm going to go with UNC Greensboro and put them into the semifinals. It's tempting to pick Hofstra. I'm just saying, be on the lookout for Hofstra. Keep your eye on them. All right, moving counterclockwise to the lower left quadrant. It's number 1 Indiana taking on number 8 St. Francis of Pennsylvania.
I have never heard. The only St. Francis I know is a sissy. So I'm going to take Indiana.
I think that's who this St. Francis is.
Yeah, I've got the Hoosiers as well.
Yeah. Why not pick Indiana? Number 4 Providence taking on number 5 Arkansas. This should be a good basketball matchup.
I'll take Arkansas to win this game because I think they're peaking at the right time.
I'm going with Providence.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Friars here. All right. Speaking of which, speaking of coaching vacancies, when is that Arkansas job going to be open? Arkansas keeps underachieving. Anyway, moving on.
I would take Mike Anderson as a head coach
At Alabama?
Yeah, why not?
Number 3, Furman taking on number 6 Wichita State.
I'm going to take Furman just because I can't stand anything having to do with Wichita State.
I'm going with the Shockers. Shocking.
I think I will take the Shockers as well. Number 2, Clemson taking on number 7 Wright State.
I got Clemson all the way on this one.
Yeah, Clemson for sure.
Yeah, I'll go with Clemson. You got the ACC pedigree. All right, give me your second round matchups and picks.
Got Indiana versus Arkansas, and I'm going with the huge upset, the Razorbacks beating the Hoosiers.
Wow. Yeah, I've got Indiana and Providence. I'm going with Indiana.
I've got Indiana and Providence. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and pick Providence in an upset and put Providence into the quarterfinals. Okay, give me your other second round picks.
I've got Furman against Clemson, and I got Clemson winning it.
Yeah, I've got Wichita State and Clemson, and I'm going with Clemson as well.
I've got Wichita State versus Clemson, and I will go with Clemson to join you there, Adam. All right, give me your quarterfinal matchups and tell me who's making it to the semifinals.
Arkansas versus Clemson, and I've got Clemson winning. So Clemson wins this bracket.
Yeah, I've got Indiana, Clemson, and I've got Clemson making it because if it's not Alabama, Clemson at the end, what's it worth?
I've got Providence versus Clemson, and guys, what seed is Providence?
Providence is a 4 seed.
And what was the seed of the last 3 teams to win the NIT tournament?
I have no idea, but I'm going to guess 4.
That's right. I'm putting Providence into the semifinals over Clemson.
Nice.
Okay.
Just keep that all in mind. Moving counterclockwise into the lower right quadrant, we now have number 1, TCU, taking on number 8, Sam Houston State. Who do you guys like in this matchup?
Gotta go with the Horned Frogs on this one. Gig 'em.
Yeah, I think TCU as well.
I will agree. Next up, Nebraska, the 4 seed, versus Butler, the 5.
I'm going to go with Butler just because their Bulldog is so freaking cute.
Well, I'm going more off basketball than pets, but too, yes.
So you picked Butler as well?
Butler. Yeah, Butler.
Yeah, Butler's 16-16. It's I'm surprised they're not doing better. Nebraska keeps having these like inconsistencies that are different than Alabama's inconsistencies. It's hard to know what you're going to get with Nebraska, but I haven't seen enough to be excited about this Butler team. I'm going to take the Cornhuskers and pick them here in the first round. Next up, number 3 Memphis taking on number 6 San Diego.
I'm going to go Memphis just because they were their basketball legacy. And Penny Hardaway's their coach. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? I'm going with Memphis too, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Memphis in the first round. Alabama's number 1 basketball rival, Creighton, is a 2 seed taking on Loyola Chicago, who we remember made a run all the way to the Final Four last year.
Yeah, I will remember that. What was her name? Sister. Oh, what was the name of the 97-year-old? Janice or anyway, whatever.
Sister
her
Jean.
name.
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute. Yeah. Sister Jean.
Sister Jean. I don't think the Sister Jean luck will be there. I'm going to go Creighton.
I do. I'm going with Loyola Chicago.
I really do like Porter Moser as a coach. Tell you what, I'll take Loyola. I'll take Loyola. Put them in with a 7-2 upset. All right, give me your second round matchups and winners.
I got TCU against Butler. I'm going TCU.
We match again, Dave. Same.
Oh.
I have TCU versus Nebraska, and it's kind of a toss-up, but I'll go with TCU to make it to the quarterfinals.
All right.
Give me your other set of second round matchups.
I've got Memphis versus Creighton, and here's where I have Memphis beating Creighton. I've got Creighton losing to Memphis. So I got Memphis and TCU as my semis of this bracket, or the semis.
Of this quadrant, you mean?
Of this quadrant, yes.
I have Memphis and Loyola Chicago. I'm going with Memphis because, I mean, their coach is Penny Hardaway.
Exactly.
I've got Memphis taking on Loyola. Dave, you're going to have to edit that cough out. I'm dying. I've got Memphis taking on Loyola, and I'm going to pick Loyola. I hope they can rekindle a little bit of last year's magic in the NIT.
All right. So I've got TCU against Memphis, and I'm going with Lil Penny. So I got Memphis winning this quadrant.
We match again. Yeah, I was going to go with them as well, so Memphis.
For my matchup, I have TCU versus Loyola, and this is where I think Loyola's luck runs out. I will take TCU and put them into the semifinals. All right, moving on. We now have the quadrant Alabama plays in. Alabama, the 1 seed, plays host to Norfolk State Wednesday, March 20th at 6 o'clock Central Time. Guys, give me a score for this one. We won't pick a score for every Alabama game if you have Alabama advancing. Just give me a score for this one game.
So Alabama's a 16-point favorite against Norfolk State. Alabama doesn't normally play like they're a 16-point favorite. Most of the time, I'm going to go Alabama winning 76-62.
It's hard to play like a 16-point favorite when you're never one. I'm going to go. You don't know how bad I want to pick Norfolk State, but I don't want to get the eye rolls and all that. So I'm going to go with Alabama. I'm going to say 70-67.
I'm going to pick Alabama here. It is important to remember Norfolk State is a conference champion. They're in a much lesser conference, but they still have done enough to be competitive against everybody they play in their universe, and that's from a cohesive standpoint, that means a lot for this team. So I don't think people should take Norfolk State lightly, despite them being an 8 seed in the NIT. However, I got to go with Bama here, and I will take Alabama to win this one, 68-63. Next up, we've got the 4 seed versus the 5 seed. Colorado, the 4 seed, playing host to Dayton, which is coached by none other than Anthony Grant.
You can't not pick Anthony Grant and Davidson here, just knowing who they play next.
You got to pick Dayton.
Or here. Dayton. Why did I say Davidson? I got Dayton winning this, knowing who they play next.
If you've got Davidson winning that game, that really is a unique pick.
Yes, it is.
I'm actually going to go with Colorado on this one, all the side story and drama aside, Colorado.
It's just so hard for me to not think that the most painful scenario possible for Alabama would be what would come up. That's just the way things go. I got to pick Dayton here to have them match up with Alabama in the second round. Number 3, Xavier taking on number 6, Toledo.
I got Xavier winning this, even though Toledo's a half-point favorite. Xavier is that basketball lineage, and I've got Xavier winning.
Yeah, I have Xavier as well.
I'll go with Xavier. Their fan base is going to be pushing hard for them to succeed. First time in a long time Xavier's been in the NIT. Texas taking on South Dakota State. That's your 2-7 matchup.
Hook 'em here. You got Texas winning. I think this is going to be a rout.
Yeah, I agree. Longhorns all the way.
I will take Texas as well. Okay, give me your second round matchups and winners.
I've got Bama against Dayton. And even though I know how well Anthony Grant teams play on the road, I'm going to have the revenge factor for Anthony Grant taking effect here. And I've got Anthony Grant winning by probably a 2 or 3 point win.
I have Alabama, Colorado, and Colorado. They did okay in their conference tournament, but I think overall they're just not good. I actually think Alabama, to Dave's point earlier, has an easy run to get a little bit deeper into the tournament than just the first round. So I've got Alabama beating Colorado there.
I have Alabama taking on Dayton. I do think home court advantage matters, even if the Bama fans aren't going to bother to show up for this one. I do think if Bama's playing Dayton, that will be of a good bit of interest. Spring break is already over, I believe, for the Alabama students, so should be able to get people to show up. Should be an interesting matchup. I think home court does matter, so I'm going to pick Bama to beat Dayton there. All right, give me your other second-round matchups and your advancing team to the quarterfinals.
I got Xavier versus Texas, and I'll say hook 'em here too.
Yeah, I've got X versus Tex too. I'm going with Xavier though.
I've got Xavier in Texas. I will take Xavier. All right, that gets your quarterfinal matchups teed up. Tell me what you've got for your quarterfinals and who's advancing to the semifinals.
I've got Dayton and Texas, and I got Texas winning this one.
Yeah, I've got Alabama and Xavier, and I have Xavier winning that one.
Oh, you're not going to do your matchup?
No.
Okay.
I've got Alabama taking on Xavier, and I do like Adam's pick of Xavier over Alabama, but I got to be optimistic that this team is going to try to make a statement, and I'm going to take the Tide to advance to the semifinals. So now we've got our 4 semifinal teams that will be your Madison Square Garden teams in the NIT's Final Four. Tell me how your left side matchup goes and who will make it to the NIT championship game.
I've got Georgetown versus Clemson, and I think I'm going to take Clemson winning that game for to go to their NIT side of the bracket.
Yeah, I've got UNC Greensboro and Clemson, and I've got Clemson going as well.
I've got UNC Greensboro taking on Providence, and I think Providence can make things very interesting, but I will take UNC Greensboro to advance to the NIT championship, despite the fact that the 4 seeds seem to do very well in the NIT tournament the last 3 years, with 4 seeds winning it the last 3 years. All right, give me your right side semifinal matchup and the winner advancing to the NIT championship game.
I've got Texas versus Memphis, and I'm going to go with Little Penny and take Memphis to win this one.
I've got Xavier in Memphis, and I'm going to go with Memphis too, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, you've got Xavier and yeah, you do.
Memphis.
You're right.
Memphis,
okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Let's see. I've got TCU taking on Alabama, and again, I think if that's the case, I think TCU will be a very tough matchup for Alabama. But I just think maybe the aura of Madison Square Garden may inspire this team to be a little bit more consistent for 40 minutes. TCU has problems with inconsistency as well. You never know what TCU team is going to take the court. I'll take the Tide and put Alabama into the NIT championship game. Yes, I am the eternal basketball optimist. So
remember, this is the guy that picked. Didn't you pick Alabama to be in the Final Four last year?
He did.
It may be a kiss of death. Maybe the kiss of death is what I've just given them. But anyway, we now have 2 teams in the championship game. Give me your championship matchup and your championship winner.
I got Clemson versus Memphis, and I'm going to go with the Eternal Basketball School and pick Memphis to win the NIT.
I've got Clemson and Memphis too. I'm actually going to go with Clemson.
I've got UNC Greensboro taking on Alabama. That's both 1 seeds. That's just not going to happen. So I already know I'm wrong in some form or fashion. So it must be UNC Greensboro that's not going to be there. Whoever Alabama plays, Alabama's going to take them down because it is time for the Tide to get a championship in basketball. Even if it's a tiny, small, lower level championship, Bama's going to get one, and they're going to get it.
Okay, then.
And then they're going to fire Avery Johnson.
Hey, I'll tell you what, even though we don't all agree on Alabama being in the NIT, on who should coach Alabama, you know the one thing we do agree on, though, it is how great our sponsors Roosport is. Adam, you were gone last week. You didn't get to gloat on Roosport. I'm going to let you gloat this week, so go ahead, man.
You're going to let me gloat. Wow. Thank you, Dave. I have to say this was actually the Princess Half. I don't think we've talked Blair's experience with the Princess.
No, we
Half,
haven't.
But it was actually her first one. She had taken her running belt, and when we got the Roof Sport at the Expo from Earl and the gang. So thanks to Earl for that. She actually used it in the race and loved it. So one more person check the box, one more person in their corner. It just proves itself that someone can actually not have trained with it and use it on race day, which most people say don't do. But in that case, it's such an easy product to use and such a non-invasive type product in your running stance or anything that that she was able to use it and enjoyed it. So much love to Roof Sport for that. That's my gloat.
Yeah, so there you go. You go to www.theroofsport.com, use the promo code Sideline30 at checkout, and the guys will give you, the guys and gals, because it's a family outfit, that they'll give you 30% off just for listening to Sideline Warning. So they're again, it's www.theroosport.com. Use the promo code Sideline30 at checkout, and you get 30% off everything. Normally, we spend about probably 5-6 minutes talking about Roo Sport, but we've got a lot we have to do on the second half of the show. It's not a lot of insight, but we have to pick 68 teams, gentlemen. So we have to pick this NCAA bracket. I want to say one thing first. In a million years, did you ever think that Auburn would put to Tennessee what they did today?
Oh, totally.
Was Tennessee just gliding, or was this the Auburn that you really expected to see this year?
No, this is exactly what I expected to happen because Auburn gets hot at just the right times.
Yeah.
It would be the most Bruce Pearl thing to come in there and win a game like this. And that's exactly what happened. Also playing Florida, that's an easier matchup than playing Kentucky. Tennessee had to put everything on the floor yesterday to be able to handle Kentucky and advance to the championship game. Anything was going to be an emotional letdown after that. Tennessee beat Kentucky, and that solidified them for a 2 seed, and that's what they needed, and they weren't going to rise any higher by beating Auburn. They did.
See, so I disagree with that.
It's hard to get motivated in a situation like that. So I think Tennessee had it shored up, and they just said, all right, and they're gassed. It was an emotionally and physically draining game playing Kentucky, and Auburn's a good perimeter shooting team when they want to be, which is most of the time, but not all of the time.
Yeah, see, I disagree. I think that if Tennessee had won the SEC tournament, I think Virginia would not have been a 1 seed. They would have been a 2 seed, and Tennessee would have been the 1 seed, the other 1 seed. Because now, if you look at it, Tennessee got a bum draw. Because in their second round game, they potentially could be playing. They're going to be playing in Ohio against Cincinnati. So they will be the home team in Cincinnati's home state. So Tennessee got a bum draw. And we were talking about how good Auburn's draw was in the SEC tournament. Well, Auburn got the worst draws of any draw, probably of any conference championship winner. I think because Auburn starts off with New Mexico State, and then the potential matchup with Kansas is looming. So if somehow Auburn gets out of that dreaded 5-12 matchup, they'll have to then play either Kansas or Northeastern, which Alabama knows how bad Northeastern is. So there you go. There's our one little snippet of talk. Ben, let's do it. Let's buckle up and let's do the NCAA tournament.
Starting off in the Eastern region, we've got number one.
Are we going to do the play-ins?
No.
Okay.
Because the play-ins don't matter.
Okay.
I hate the play-ins. The play-ins are the worst. Make it a field of 64, and let's go from there.
Nice.
Number 1 Duke is taking on number 16, the playing game, which is ESPN's terrible. This is NDS versus NCC. I'm going to say that's North Dakota State and North Carolina Central. What is that? Who are these teams? It doesn't matter.
That's it. You got it.
Duke. I mean, we're not going to have a 16 beat a 1 this year.
Are we?
Yeah.
No, Duke.
Not in this one. So Duke.
Duke will win there. VCU versus UCF. This is Adam's matchup. Who do you guys like in this game?
I got UCF winning this alphabet soup.
I actually do too. Yeah, UCF.
Oh, I'll take VCU there to set up a matchup with Duke. All right, number 5 Mississippi State taking on number 12 Liberty. Do you guys pick a 12-5 upset here?
Jerry Falwell can't help Liberty here. I got Mississippi State.
Yeah, even Alabama could beat Liberty, so I've got Mississippi State too.
I will take Mississippi State. Number 4, Virginia Tech. There's rumors that Buzz Williams could be on his way out of the door at Virginia Tech because Texas A&M wants to hire him. If he wants to go ahead and make a move for his job, wouldn't it make sense to drop one to St. Louis here?
No, the Balukis or whatever they call them. I got Virginia Tech winning this one.
The Billikens?
Billikens, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
like John Belushi. I've got Virginia Tech here too.
It's kind of tempting. It's kind of tempting.
Not yet, Ben. Come on.
Yeah, I'll take St. Louis.
Okay. Wow, that's
13-4 upset. There we go. Upset alert. All right, number 6, Maryland will be taking on the winner of the 11 seed play-in game between Belmont and Temple. Who wins this game of the 3 teams?
I got Maryland winning this one.
Yeah, me too. Maryland.
I'll lean towards Maryland on this too, but I may rethink it later. All right, number 3, LSU taking on number 14, Yale.
No matter who is on the court coaching for LSU, there's no way they go down to an Ivy League school. I've got LSU winning this one.
Yeah, I agree. I've got the Tigers.
Could there be a more culturally different matchup than these two schools?
No, there could not be.
There could not be. I will take LSU this go round. They'll get the win first round. Next up is the Patino Bowl. It's Louisville versus Minnesota. Louisville coming in as the 7 seed.
So I've got my first upset here. I've got Little Patino getting some retribution for his daddy. I got Minnesota winning this.
I just had a vision of Smokey and the Bandit when you talk about my daddy. Anyway, I've got Louisville actually on this one. No retribution to be had.
Okay.
I agree with you, Adam. I'm going to go with Louisville. I think Chris Mack has done an amazing job coaching Louisville here in his first season. He should definitely get a ton of recognition for the good work he's done. Next up, number 2, Michigan State versus number 15, Bradley. Any chance Michigan State could fall in a 15-2 upset again?
None at all. I got Michigan State winning this one in a rout.
Yeah, this is number 2 versus who? I mean, Michigan State for sure.
It's the Bradley Braves. It's not a who. I'll take Michigan State here, though. I'll take Michigan State here. All right. Moving up, back up to the top. We've got Duke versus VCU is what I've got. You guys have got Duke versus UCF. Who's making it to the Sweet 16?
It doesn't matter who you have Duke playing. If you have Zion Williamson and the gang losing to anybody here, you're dumb. I've got Duke winning.
Yeah, if the shoe fits, right?
No.
I've got Duke on this one too.
I will agree with you guys for the moment and put Duke into the Sweet 16. Next up, give me your next matchup and the winner.
I got Mississippi State versus Virginia Tech, and I've got Tech winning.
I've got Mississippi State and Virginia Tech, and I have the Bulldogs making it to the Sweet 16.
I've got Mississippi State taking on St. Louis, and I will put Mississippi State into the Sweet 16. Next up, give me your next matchups and the teams making it to the Sweet 16.
I've got Maryland and LSU, and this is where not having Will Wade on the sideline is going to hurt LSU, so I've got Maryland winning.
I have LSU and Maryland. I think they'll make it one more round at least. I've got LSU winning this one.
Adam, I agree with you. I have LSU topping Maryland in the second round. Next up, it's my matchup's Louisville and Michigan State. You guys may have other things. Go ahead and tell me your matchups.
I've got Michigan State and Minnesota. There's no way I'm picking against Michigan State here. I got Michigan State winning.
Yeah, I've got Michigan State and Louisville. I say the same thing. Spartans make it to the Sweet 16.
I've got Louisville and Michigan State. It is very tempting for me to pick Louisville here, but I just think Michigan's going to be too big and too physical. I will put them in to the Sweet 16. All right, tell me your matchups that will give us our Elite 8 teams.
Duke and VT, and I got Duke winning this one.
Yeah, I've got Duke and Mississippi State. I've got Duke going.
I have Duke topping Mississippi State as well. Give me your other matchup and your Elite 8 team.
Michigan State versus Maryland, and unfortunately I have chalk in this in the East Bracket Championship.
Nice. I have Michigan State beating LSU to make it to the Elite 8.
Or to the final, yeah, to the Elite 8, you're right.
Yeah. Man, Dave, would you just let me do my thing, man?
No.
I've got Michigan State topping LSU as well. All right.
So we all three have chalk, I think.
So well, in the Elite 8, we've got the one and two. So
yeah.
Who's going to make it to the Final Four?
I don't think you can pick against Duke in this situation. I think with Zion Williamson in the lineup, Duke is the most complete team in this bracket. I've got Duke winning this one. Close, but I got Duke.
Yeah, I have Duke as well. I agree. I think they're gonna be a juggernaut if they're all healthy.
I've got this rule. It's called the Izzo rule, and it's you always pick Tom Izzo to go one more round than you think he should. And I don't have a rule like that for Duke. I think you should always pick Duke to do well, but I should have Michigan State losing here. I completely agree with you guys, but I can't go against my rule. I'm picking Tom Izzo and Michigan State to make it to the Final Four.
All right.
All right.
Let's go ahead and pick the West, where Gonzaga is a 1 seed, and they will be taking on. Again, I just have abbreviations. What is this? Fairleigh Dickinson? Who are my 16 seeds? Fairleigh Dickinson versus PV. What is that? Pennsylvania Valley? Prairie View. Yeah, of course. Why not?
Yeah, of course.
I hate the play-ins. Who's winning this?
Gonzaga. There's no way that Gonzaga is going to lose this game.
Oh yeah, their offense is too strong for sure. Gonzaga.
Number 8 Syracuse versus number 9 Baylor.
I've got Baylor winning this game. This is one that I struggled with, but I've got Baylor winning in a close game.
Yeah, I struggled with this one too, to be honest. I think that the Orange did struggle, but I think they're going to have enough on defense to win this one. So I've got Syracuse.
I got to give Jim Boeheim some love, so I will go with Syracuse. If you're trying to pick the most painful bracket for Alabama to watch, though, you should pick Baylor. All right, number 5 Marquette taking on number 12 Murray State.
So because of the talent that Murray State has, I've got this 5-12 upset going to the 12 Murray State.
I actually do too. Yeah, this is one of my upsets. I got Murray State over Marquette.
See, this is a 12-5 upset I really wanted, but both of you guys picking it makes me less confident in it. Marquette's a very good team, and can Ja Morant do it by himself?
Yeah,
I'm gonna pick Ket here. I'm gonna go with Marquette.
All right.
I love it.
I really wanted the Racers to be my dark horse, but I just can't do it. All right, number 4.
And then here come Dave and Adam.
Here come Dave and Adam. Number 4, Florida State, coming off of being just so close to winning the ACC tournament. They're taking on number 13, Vermont. Who do you like here?
I've got Florida State winning this one.
Yeah, I've got Florida State too.
You know what? I will go with Florida State here for this as well. Number 6, Buffalo, taking on the play-in game between ASU and SJU. Again, who is this? Arizona State and
San Jose State.
And San Jose State. No, that's not SJU, right?
No, St. John's.
St. John's. Yeah, St. John's. Traditional basketball power.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter who. I got Buffalo winning this one.
I actually have I think St. John's is going to make it in. I think they'll take down Buffalo.
Very interesting. Yeah, I actually am agreeing with Adam again. I'm going to have St. John's going here into the next round. Number 3, Texas Tech, taking on number 14, Northern Kentucky. Who's the coach at Northern Kentucky?
What do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhino?
The head coach at Northern Kentucky is John Brannon, a former Alabama assistant with Anthony Grant.
Well, there you go. The more you know. It doesn't matter who's coaching for them because they're going to lose. Texas Tech.
Yeah, I've got Texas Tech too.
And Texas Tech's defense is too strong here. All right, number 7, Nevada, taking on number 10, Florida. Florida winding up on the right side of the bubble.
And I've got Florida moving on because of how tough they've played a top-seeded LSU and beating them once in overtime. I've got Florida winning this game. Or averting overtime, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got Florida too, which means Ben's going to pick Nevada.
I was going to pick Nevada anyway, regardless of what you guys said. I just think Florida. You know, they've done just enough down the stretch, but they play great defense. But the offense is always questionable, and I think against the physicality that Nevada can put on the floor, I just think Nevada is going to come to play. All right, number 2, Michigan taking on number 15, Montana.
I've got Michigan winning this game. I don't think there's any prayer that Montana could win this.
Yeah, I don't either. I've got Michigan too.
Well, I think it's possible, but I'm going to go with Michigan and put them in. All right, go ahead and give me your second round matchups and who's advancing to the Sweet 16.
I've got Zaga versus Baylor, and I've got Zaga winning it.
Yeah, I've got Gonzaga, Syracuse, and I've got the 1 seed making it, so Gonzaga.
Oh, this is tempting. Gonzaga's really good. I'm going to take Gonzaga, but I really thought about giving it to Boeheim there. Okay, give me your next matchup.
Next, I've got the Racers against the Seminoles, and I've got the Criminals coming out of that game on top.
Yeah, I've got Florida State, Murray State, and Florida will be the greater of the states.
Tell you what, I kind of, you guys are making me regret not picking Murray State, because I really do think that if Murray State can get past Marquette, they can get past Florida State. I think Murray State should be a team people think about putting in their Sweet 16 if you're looking for a high seed to advance. But I don't have them. I've got Marquette taking on Florida State. I really liked what I saw out of Florida State the other day. I think Marquette is kind of a sexier pick, but I am going to go with Florida State and put them in. All right, next up, who do you have in your next matchup?
I've got Buffalo and Texas Tech, and I'm going to get some side eyes on this, but I think my big upset is going to be Buffalo over Texas Tech.
Nice. Because I have St. John's and Texas Tech. I think St. John's will beat Texas Tech as well.
Ooh.
I have St. John's and Texas Tech, but I've got to advance Texas Tech to the Sweet 16. Next up, I think this will be a great matchup if it happens. I've got Nevada and Michigan. You guys have got other things. You guys have got Florida and Michigan. I think that could be a good matchup too. What's going to happen there?
I've got Florida and Michigan, and like you said, Ben, Florida struggles scoring, so I'm going to put Michigan over Florida here.
Yeah, I don't think Florida makes it past Michigan. I've got them moving on.
I have Nevada and Michigan. I really think Nevada could do some damage here and surprise Michigan, but I just think Michigan's so good. Give me Nevada. I want that upset. I will advance Nevada over Michigan because everybody else is going to be picking Michigan. Okay, give me your Sweet 16 matchups and tell me who makes it to the Elite Eight.
I've got Gonzaga against Florida State. And, Ben, you have the Tom Izzo rule. I've got the rule where not all number ones make it to the Elite Eight. And looking at the other number ones and theirs and their path, Gonzaga is the odd man out, and Florida State played well against Duke. Gonzaga did not win their conference. They lost to the lesser St. Mary's. So because of that, I've got Florida State winning here.
I was right there with you, Dave. And I don't know. I just don't think that Florida State's got what it takes to overcome the offensive efficiency that Gonzaga has. So I've got Gonzaga making it.
I've got Gonzaga and Florida State. I will take Gonzaga and move them on. Give me your other matchup in the Sweet 16.
I got Buffalo against Michigan, and I wanted to pick the Michigan upset for Buffalo to go over them. I just can't do it, so I've got Michigan winning.
Yeah, I've got St. John's in Michigan, and I've got Michigan advancing too.
This is where things start getting very different for all of us. I've got Texas Tech taking on Nevada, and I am going to put Texas Tech into the Elite Eight. Okay, give me your Elite Eight matchup, and who advances to the Final Four?
Florida State against Michigan, and I've got Florida State in my Final Four.
Wow. Ending the season on a heck of a note. I've got Gonzaga and Michigan, and I've got Michigan making it.
I have Gonzaga taking on Texas Tech. Gonzaga is definitely a fierce team, but I just like Texas Tech's defense in a tournament situation. I am going to take Texas Tech and put them in the Final Four in an upset of Gonzaga. All right, jumping back over to the South region, we're going to pick Virginia, the 1 seed, versus number 16, Gardner-Webb. Will a 16 seed upset Virginia? That would be almost unheard of.
Ooh, it's happened. It won't happen this year. I've got easily Virginia winning. Virginia's only lost 3 games.
Yeah, they're way too dominant. I've got Virginia moving on too.
I've got Virginia going on. Also, if you're trying to pick the most frustrating bracket for a Bama fan, you've got to have Braxton Key going deep in the tournament. All right.
Yeah.
Number 8, Ole Miss taking on number 9, Oklahoma.
We see how bad Ole Miss is in basketball. I mean, come on, even Alabama beat them twice. I've got Oklahoma winning this one.
Yeah, as bad as Oklahoma finished their season on, I think Ole Miss is a little bit too up and down to be able to pull it off here against them. I've got Oklahoma.
Guys, have some confidence in the SEC. I'm putting the Rebels in the next round. Number 5, Wisconsin versus number 12, Oregon, who skated in by a conference championship. Does that momentum help Oregon? Are they hot at the right time?
No, not at all. I've got Wisconsin winning this one.
Yeah, I've got Wisconsin over Oregon too.
I think Oregon is hot at the right time. That's my 12-5 upset. Number 4, Kansas State taking on number 13, UC Irvine.
I can't go against Kansas State here. I've got to go with the Wildcats.
I actually can, and I'm picking UC Irvine.
I'm going to go with Kansas State. I think they're tough, and I don't see the upset there. Number 6, Villanova taking on number 11, St. Mary's. St. Mary's making it into the tournament after their win over Gonzaga.
This isn't the Villanova from last year where just dominated Alabama, but they are still a very good Villanova team. So I've got Nova winning this one.
Yep, I agree. I've got Villanova as well.
I will go with Villanova. Next up, Purdue taking on Old Dominion.
Yeah, Purdue wins this.
Yeah, I love Old Dominion's music, but Purdue's better.
Oh
on the
my
basketball
gosh,
court.
Adam!
I'm kidding.
Are we going to have to
That's
have
a joke. That's a joke. It was
Okay.
purely just a play on words. Don't worry.
Wearing that snapback?
No, please. I've got Purdue.
In my snapback.
Stop it. Stop it right now.
I think I'll go with Purdue here. I'm bothered by how many conservative picks I'm making. But
I know I have to.
I'll go with Purdue there. Number 7, Cincinnati taking on number 10, Iowa.
I've got to go Cincinnati here. The Bearcats are a good team.
Yeah, I've got Cincinnati too. Iowa's just kind of tanked here late in the season. I think Cincinnati will take advantage.
It's scaring me when we all agree, but I will take Cincinnati. Number 2, Tennessee taking on number 15, Colgate. Who do you guys like?
We're probably going to all agree here. Colgate's a really good toothpaste, but they're not going to beat the guys from the mountain that love their corn. I got Tennessee.
All right, a little bit of a different spin on that. As scared as Tennessee will be because they have never seen toothpaste to play Colgate. Stole my joke.
Sorry.
I'm going to go with Tennessee here too.
Wow. Virginia and Ole Miss are who I've got. Guys, tell me who you got playing into the Sweet 16.
Virginia and Oklahoma. Virginia wins heavily.
Yeah, same. Virginia.
I'm gonna take Virginia over Ole Miss. Next up, give me your next matchup and who makes it to the Sweet 16.
I got Wisconsin against Kansas State, and looking at the stats, I mean, Wisconsin's opponent points per game is 61.4. Kansas State's 59.2. But if you look at the BPIs, Wisconsin's 14th in the BPI rank. Kansas State is 25th. Points per game, Wisconsin wins. I think this is a toss-up. But I'm going to go Wisconsin on this one.
Yeah, I've got Wisconsin and UC Irvine. I think if it was Wisconsin, Kansas State, I'd have a different pick. But I think Wisconsin's going to advance to the Sweet 16.
I've got number 12, Oregon, taking on number 4, Kansas State. Part of me wants to keep Oregon going, but I just think Kansas State's going to be too formidable. I will move them on into the Sweet 16. Give me your next matchup and the Sweet 16 team.
I got Nova versus Purdue, and I've got Nova moving on.
Exactly the same again, man. Villanova.
I've got Villanova versus Purdue, and I actually think Villanova, prior to getting on their championship runs, had trouble making it to the Sweet 16 and advancing at the right times. That was kind of a knock on Jay Wright, and I think Villanova is going to revert to form. I've got Purdue making it to the Sweet 16. Cincinnati taking on Tennessee. Who do you guys like in this matchup?
So this is the game that I said that Tennessee will be the home team, but they'll be playing in Ohio against Cincinnati, Ohio. Even though it's going to be a hostile crowd, Tennessee's a better team. I got Tennessee winning.
Yeah, I've got Tennessee, Cincinnati with the Vols moving on.
I guess I'll make it unanimous and go with Tennessee as well. Okay, guys, give me your Elite Eight teams. Tell me your matchups.
Virginia and Wisconsin, and there's no doubt in my mind Virginia wins this game.
Yeah, I've got the same Virginia, Wisconsin. I got the 1 seed moving on.
I've got Virginia versus Kansas State, and I actually think this could be a really exceptional game. I'm going to advance Virginia, though. They're going to be able to outduel Kansas State. Give me your other matchup and the team that makes it to the Elite Eight.
I've got Nova against Tennessee, and here is where Tennessee falters. I've got Nova against Virginia in the Elite Eight.
I've got Tennessee, Villanova. I've got Tennessee moving on, so it's Virginia, Tennessee for me.
I've got number 3 Purdue taking on number 2 Tennessee, and for whatever reason, the Rick Barnes, I think he's a great guy, but he just historically hasn't been able to get his teams to go all the way. I'm going to go with Purdue here over Tennessee. So give me your Elite Eight matchup and who is advancing to the Final Four.
Virginia against Nova, and against my better judgment, I'm putting Virginia in the Final Four.
Yeah, I've got Virginia, Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to peak at the right time and actually make it.
And earlier I had Virginia topping Kansas State. I think that's going to be a grueling game, and I think Virginia may be a little gassed when they take Purdue, presuming everything else I've picked is right. I'm gonna do something kind of crazy here and kind of funky and put Purdue in to the Final Four. I'm kind of surprised I'm doing this, but here I am. That's what just happened. So Purdue for the Final Four. Moving on to the Midwest region, number 1 North Carolina taking the top seed there. They will face number 16 Iona.
Yeah, North Carolina wins this one handily. I don't even know where Iona is.
They're not in the round of 32, I can tell you that, wherever they are.
I will go with UNC as well. Next up, number 8 Utah State taking on number 9 Washington.
I got the slight upset with Washington winning this one.
Yeah, I think Utah State's going to have enough to pull this one out. I've got them moving on.
I'm going to go with Washington and advance them into the next round. Next up is number 5 Auburn taking on number 12 New Mexico State. Do the SEC champs fall susceptible to a 12-5 upset?
So the biggest upset in the first round is usually what, Ben? 5-12?
5-12's happened a good bit.
Yeah. And I think I've only picked one 5-12 so far. Fat coach loses. I've got New Mexico State moving on.
Yeah, it'll be a tough game, and all the cards are going to have to fall in just the right places for them. But I've got New Mexico State beating Auburn too.
I gotta go with Auburn here in the first round. Number 4 Kansas taking on number 13 Northeastern.
Kansas, even though they lost the Big 12 championship, I've got to go with Kansas here.
Yeah, I have Kansas as well.
Seems like picking Kansas would be the thing to do, but you just never know. You just never know. I will go with Kansas as well. Number 6, Iowa State, Steve Prohm, Alabama alum, fresh off of a conference championship, taking on number 11, Ohio State. Who do you guys like in this matchup?
So normally, I would say Ohio State loses this game to a much better Iowa State team. But I do think the rumors and innuendo will come out later this week about Iowa State's head coach maybe being courted by another school. Maybe Mama is calling. So because of all that rumor, I think Ohio State wins.
I think Prom's got too much of a foundation built for any rumor to take that down. I've got them beating Ohio State and advancing.
I think Iowa State has figured out their rotation. I think that helps them out a good bit. I am going to go with Iowa State in the first round. Number 3, Houston, taking on number 14, Georgia State.
Houston wins this one handily. I watched the Houston-Georgetown game, and I was highly impressed with Kelvin Sampson in Houston. So I got Houston winning this one.
Yeah, I've got Houston as well. Yep.
I will agree and make Houston advance to the next round. Number 7, Wofford versus 10, Seton Hall.
Seton Hall wins this one just because I think that this is a toss-up, a coin flip. And looking at stats, they're both 5-7 in their last 12 games. I'm just going to go with Seton Hall just because I know that they have played a better schedule.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Wofford. I think they're going to have enough to pull it off. And their Boston Terrier mascot's just so darn cute, right, Dave?
Oh, it's not a bulldog.
I'm going to go with Wofford here. I think Wofford's a really good team. Next up, number 2, Kentucky, taking on number 15, Abilene Christian.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Yeah, I agree. Kentucky. Let's just let the dominoes fall on that one, right?
Yeah.
I'll take Kentucky. I'll take Kentucky.
There you go.
Next up, your next round matchups and who's playing into the Sweet 16.
Carolina against Washington, and I don't think there's any surprise here. I'm picking Carolina.
Yeah, I've got UNC and Utah State. I've got the Tar Heels advancing.
I've got UNC versus Washington. I will put Carolina into the next round. Give me your next matchup and who makes it to the Sweet 16.
Kansas and New Mexico State. I've got Kansas winning this one.
Yeah, I have the same matchup, same result. Kansas moves on.
I've got Auburn and Kansas. I'm actually going to put Auburn into the Sweet 16.
Oh my gosh! All the more oh my God, you're proving my point. I'm kicking my soapbox to the side so I don't get on it. Move on to the next matchup.
Give me your next matchup, Dave.
Ohio State taking on Houston, and I'll take Houston on this one.
Ooh, I've got Iowa State and Houston, and probably just as much rubbing it in for Alabama as Auburn making the Sweet 16 would be Steve Prohm making it to the Sweet 16, and that's what I have happening.
I've got Iowa State and Houston. I am going to advance Houston because I just think Houston is really good. Okay, give me your next matchup and who advances to the Sweet 16.
Kentucky taking on Seton Hall, and Kentucky is really good. I got Kentucky.
I've got Kentucky and Wofford, and I think Kentucky has an Alabama moment in this round, and Wofford advances.
Adam, you're stealing my thunder. I've got Wofford going as well. What's going on? All right, give me your Sweet 16 matchups and tell me who's going to be in the Elite Eight.
I'll tell you, on paper, this is a really good game. Carolina against Kansas. But is there any shock? Because who's my second favorite team in basketball? It's the Tar Heels. I got Carolina.
Same game, yeah. UNC and Kansas, and I've got the Tar Heels advancing.
I've got Carolina taking on Auburn. I am going to go with UNC advancing to the Elite Eight. Give me your next matchup and who's advancing.
I got Houston against Kentucky. And here is where I would love to have that Carolina-Kentucky matchup again, but I can't do it. I got Houston's really good. So Houston beats Kentucky.
I have what I think would be a really intriguing game. I've got Iowa State and Wofford, and I think Prohm does it again. Iowa State moves on.
Wow, that's something else. I've got Houston and Wofford. Wofford's luck runs out. I've got Houston playing UNC. All right, guys, give me your Elite Eight matchup and tell me who's making it to the Final Four.
Carolina against Houston, and shocker of all shockers, Carolina beats Houston.
Yeah, I've got Carolina and Iowa State, and I've got UNC moving on.
Ooh, I'm just like Dave. I've got UNC and Houston playing. I'm going to put UNC into the Final Four. All right, guys, we're nearing the end. Our listeners are thrilled. This is where we're at. give me your give me your first Final Four matchup, and tell me a team making it to the championship game.
So I totally hate my Final Four and the way it played out. My Final Four is all ACC teams. I've got Duke and Florida State. And as I said before, you can't pick against Zion Williamson and gang. This is going to be another really good Duke-Florida State game. I've got Duke edging them out.
Yeah, I've got Duke and Michigan, and I've got Duke. I don't think that one will be as close as Dave's potential matchup, but I've got Duke.
For me, I've got number 2 Michigan State versus number 3 Texas Tech. That's a tough one. I'll take Michigan State, put them in the championship game. Give me your other Final Four matchup.
I've got chalk on this side, Virginia versus North Carolina. When they played in the middle in the year, this year, I think Virginia won this game. I'm looking back to find, I can't find what happened, but Virginia did win. There it is. Virginia won by 8. I think the opposite happens, and we set up the Battle for Tobacco Road as a national championship game.
That's what everybody wants, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, I've got a UNC and Tennessee, and the Vols don't make it. I've got UNC moving in to play Duke in the national championship game.
For my matchup, I have number 3 Purdue taking on UNC. I do think UNC is going to be the team that advances. All right, guys, give me your final and tell me who the national champion will be.
So I've got Duke and Carolina. Carolina is 0 for Zion Williamson, but every game that Zion Williamson has been out, Carolina has won. So you would think you would say Duke has the upper hand. I think Carolina saw enough of what they need to do in this last game that they played on Saturday night or Friday night. And I've got Carolina winning this game 78-69, and Carolina is your national champions.
Homer. I have Duke and UNC. I think the opposite. It's funny how our brains work the same sometimes, Dave. I think that Duke saw enough where they edged him out last time. They know now what they have to do to make it a more dominant win, and I've actually got Duke 78-64.
Oh, wow. Kind of very close to the score, too. We're separated from birth.
I've got number 2 Michigan State and number 1 North Carolina. Traditional powers here in the final. Two great coaches. It's really the matchup you'd want except for UNC Duke. I've thought this whole time that UNC was going to be the team that I had. Just somehow Virginia and Duke were going to get tough matchups, and UNC was going to kind of slide their way into the finals with less difficulty. But now that I think about this matchup, I think there are some advantages that could really go to Michigan State. I'm going to take the Spartans. I'm going to take Michigan State picking up another national championship for Tom Izzo.
But wait a second. You just went against your own rule.
I was going to say, yeah.
I did. I've contradicted. All bets are off once you're in the Final Four, though. That's how it works.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there you go. There's our tournament pick. We picked both tournaments. And now it is time for the sideline warning. And Ben, we're going to let you go last.
I'll go last.
There we go. You will go last this time. Adam, kick them off.
I'm a fan of the AAF. I think these guys are doing what they need to do to make it work long term if the fans buy into it. But Johnny Manziel, really? I mean, you've got a guy coming in that has ruined anything he's touched, any opportunity he's had. And I think that the AAF, if it doesn't work out, could potentially be hurt by the addition of Johnny Manziel. I know it's a calculated risk on their part, and I think they've gone through all the right steps to put him in the waiver process. But when the very first team from his home state gets their opportunity to get their hands on him, waives their rights, and then the team that he lands with is the team with the worst record, which is the one who gets him next by default. It just, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to resonate, and if he ends up doing it again where he screws up this opportunity too, I think it'll hurt the AAF. I think it could help. You get name recognition if he can clean up his act. But if he just goes and does the same thing, this will just be a footnote on the story of a league that tried something to get some eyebrows raised and then it didn't work. So hope it works out for him. Hope it works out for them. But at the same time, I would have just passed and said no, thank you until they got their feet under them. But again, I'm not Greg Byrne, and I am not a president of the AAF either. So.
You would have loved the conversation we had last week, but you were down sick with your flu bug. I'm going to do something unprecedented. The gentleman from Harvest, Alabama, would like to yield his time to the gentleman from Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, that's something else.
I second that.
Two sideline warnings. What to do? All right. Well, first off, let me say this: there are plenty of reasons to feel negative about the Crimson Tide basketball situation. I'm with you. This is rough. I feel terrible, but these guys are taking the floor at home this week. If you have the ability, the call that's been out there the whole time is out there one more time, maybe a couple more times. Go support this team and support these players. They've still got Alabama on their jersey. These guys are sacrificing their times. They could have been at other schools, and maybe in some cases you wanted them to be at other schools. It doesn't matter. They're wearing the Alabama jerseys, and they're wearing the Alabama jerseys in Coleman Coliseum on Wednesday night. If you can't be there, be watching it on TV. Support this team. Be bringing your positive vibes and a positive attitude. We want to see our team win because it won't matter what happens to the coach, win or lose in this game. So go ahead and support Alabama, and let's go get this win. Let's get a win in the NIT, and let's hope that that's a building block in one way, shape, or another towards the team winning NCAA tournament games in the future. Well, we don't know where Avery Johnson is going to be. We don't know what the future holds for him and how many games he has left coaching the Crimson Tide. But unfortunately, we do know what the future holds for me, and that is that this is, unfortunately, my last episode of Sideline Warning. It has been a tremendous experience getting to work on this show with two awesome guys like Dave and Adam. It's been a tremendous amount of fun. There's such a great community around this show. I hate to be leaving, but here at the end of the basketball season, this seems like a time where we're closing out the basketball season. It also is a time for me to close out my time on the show. To the listeners, it continues to amaze me that folks like you can want to hear our thoughts and opinions on what's going on in the sporting world. You're fun. You've built a great community around the show. Continue to be a great community around the show for Dave and Adam and anybody else that they bring on in this show. And just keep supporting this and keep enjoying it, and just go out there and have some fun. It's been a ton of fun for me. I am sad to be making my departure now in March, but it is very much time for me to, now I'm going to move from basketball to baseball. It's very much my time to like a old baseball player in Field of Dreams, for me to go fade off into a cornfield and let the show keep going though on under the lights. So Dave and Adam, you guys have got a great thing going. I'm looking forward to see what comes in the next few weeks and months and years for this show. But it's been fantastic working with you guys. To the listeners, again, just thank you guys so much. It's been great being on the show. And this is going to be my last Sideline Warning. Thank you.
Ben, we thank you for the time. And we said it was probably 3 or 4 months ago that you taught me everything I know about podcasting, everything I know about radio. I can honestly say I have never done a radio show or a podcast without you being called my co-host. Moving forward, it's going to be a little bittersweet. Adam, I love you. You're like a brother to me. But Ben is basically the guy who has taken me under his wing and taught me how to do this thing we call radio and podcast. And Ben, I appreciate everything.
You're giving me far too much credit.
Well, no, Ben, I might be, but you're the guy that invited me on Rock and Jock. You're the guy that helped me build this brand that we know as Sideline Warning. And it's going to be, we have a bright future ahead. Don't get me wrong, but there is going to be a little bit of sadness knowing that we're not going to have Hollywood Ben Foster on the show as a regular co-host. Now, Ben, don't think we're letting you go. You will be back as a co-host, as a guest host, when something basketball breaks, when Avery gets fired, when something happens, you will be coming back, be it for a 15, 20-minute segment.
National basketball correspondent or something.
You are going to be the correspondent. I mean, you will be back, but it will not be as a full co-host. So, Ben, I appreciate the help that you have given us. I appreciate what you have done for this show, and go forward and prosper in your future endeavors, buddy. If you want to get a hold of the show and tell Ben how great he has been on the show, and I want next episode to be caller driven. I would like to at least have the city of Cleveland, to at least have CJ, to at least have Kyle, to at least have a couple of our Mr. Russell. I would love to have all of our normal callers call in and give us your favorite moments about Ben and what Ben has done for this show. If you want to do that, Adam, how do they do it?
931-44 Blitz is the number you call it. You'll hear a brief message, then you'll hear my voice. And after you hear the beep, just leave the message. Like Dave said, we'll talk about it. We'll play it. It'll be a part of the show. And that's really how we generate most of the fun that we have around here, is with the Blitz line calls, pushing us, holding us accountable, and making sure that we do what we need to do to give you guys the best show possible. And I want to say really quick before we move on to all the final closing stuff, Dave, thank you, Ben, for allowing me to be part of this. You could have voted me down. You could have told Dave no. The golden voice of the Southeast was not denied, though. And so thank you for letting me join you guys and learning a little bit myself. Not only are you a wealth of knowledge about basketball, but you handle a 9-year-old asking you, do you want to smell my breath, with the greatest of ease. So you're a good human being, too. So thank you, Ben. I appreciate it, man.
It's really been great being on the show with you guys. Couldn't ask for two better co-hosts. It's been a ton of fun.
It has. Well, still follow him on Twitter. He is at, what are you, Ben? The Ben Foster.
The Ben Foster.
The.
Always will be, even though I think his name should have been Hollywood Ben. I am at DAdams419. He is at Run Tide Run. Follow the show at SW The Show. We're also on Instagram at SW The Show. Hey, Adam, we're going to have to change the passwords now.
Trust me, I don't remember them.
Also, like the show on Facebook. I haven't said this in a while, but go on iTunes or Android or however you listen to the show. Give us a 5-star rating, and also please comment on the show how much you like the show. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Sideline Warning. We're also, find us on the Sideline Warning Facebook fan group. Guys, we say it every week. We love you. We truly do mean that. Ben, we're going to miss you. I will also say Roll Tide. And as we just finished this up, the Birmingham Iron have won on the road, and they beat San Diego Fleet. And also this week, what happened? Orlando lost. So Roll Tide for John, and we'll see you guys next week.
Really right at the end. #take aim. Come on.